Edgy. There's no one I trust more to bring this home. They are playing phenomenal. Reese, I want to hear you get a little bit louder, mate. You did side with me as well. You've been a bit quiet here, Monster. I mean, we have a phenomenal tournament in our hands, though. It is so close at the top.
Hey, listen, it's a tough situation for Reese, all right? You know, he's sitting in the enemy's den here. He's got to keep a low profile. Don't worry, Reese will come down off the battle bus after we're done casting these tournaments to scoop you up. We got you covered. But we are jumping in to these next games. They set it perfectly for us. There's only 2 more rounds of Fortnite in front of us, and this could be either the best stretch comeback that we've seen from Clix, Bizzle, and Bugha to take a tournament ever, or one of the most dominant performances of perfect Fortnite we'll ever get to witness from Commandment, Scented, and Edgy. There's so much stories on the line here. Let's also not forget that there is such a real potential here for Day, Miro, Reverse 2K, or Slax, Acorn, and Jack to just outperform everyone and play exceptional Fortnite now in the last 2 rounds.
We've seen how quickly it can change up when a team turns on the heat right now. We have Clix, Bugha, Bizzle doing it. They had a very struggling day 1 at the start, the first 3 games, and we talked about it last game. They are averaging a victory hour worth of points a game in their last 6 games, and that was the stat before they just picked up their 2nd victory hour in a row with 8 eliminations. So they are absolutely on fire right now, but Commandment, Scented, and Edgy are playing so consistent. That 4th place with 9 eliminations right now. They really are playing almost perfect Fortnite. They need to maybe just hold on to it that little bit longer. But as we saw a few games ago, if they go down in 1st place, everyone is so close and they will overtake them.
Yes, sir. And now look at this. Scented and Edgy have never lost an event when in first going into the final game. Let that sink in. Now, what that means, though, is that we still have a round of Fortnite in front of us. Depending on how this game plays out, we might just see the prophecy come true here.
Hey, we've seen big legacies broken here as well. It went all the way back in the qualifying weeks in the heat. We saw the Calculators team had to win the reboot round for him to continue his legacy of making it to every FNCS finals. Unfortunately, that one had fallen. We've talked about how Zayt is one of the 2 players here today, like Chap, who's placed top 10 in every finals they've appeared in. Zayt's currently in 10th, but Chap is way down there. So today is the day for records to be broken, but stories to be made here, because we are creating legends. We've talked about it. Scented, Edgy, Commandment, the legends of low ground. But man, what consistency. Never losing event when going into the final game in 1st. That means they handle the pressure, and that's what they're going to need to do here today as well, though. They came 2nd place last finals. Now they want to come out on top, though, and they were pretty close as well, but it ended up being about a 24-point difference last finals going into that last game. So they need to step up and hold on to this one.
Yeah, it's crazy how much of a difference it's been, but also how much of a difference it hasn't been, because it's the same teams showing up, you know, for the last 2 finals, basically giving us what's the word? Is it not a trilogy, but whatever that next one is it the sequel, right? The what comes
Duology?
Next here?
I'm doing the same thing.
Whatever
we make Fortnite sound fancy. Come on. They are giving us that. I mean, we've got the same name showing up here. I mean, we've got multiple FNCS this season. We could potentially see a trilogy, and with these teams, with these players showing up, remember, we've talked about it, Monster. Top 3 on the line right now will be automatically invited to the next finals. And when you look at the top 3 right now on the leaderboard, they are 3 teams that all came top 5 last finals and stayed together. So the big names are sticking together and they're performing consistently. So I am almost guaranteeing that we will turn this into a trilogy. But today we have to focus on part 2.
That's right. That's exactly what we're looking at here. Acorn, Jack, and Slax, though, that's their draw spot. That's their story. Now, for another team that's up on that big pedestal here, 2nd place, somehow they have let 1st place slip out of their fingertips, and it's been a claw back ever since. And you know what? They're not giving up easily. These last couple rounds, they still have stepped up and put themselves to where they need to be. 88 points on the day here today. Averages them way up, though. This is still a great performance. Don't count them out. They're in 253 overall. Pretty much neck and neck with our Slurpy Swamps team of Slax, Acorn, and Jock.
It's a phenomenal performance by anyone here today, and that's what you want to see. It is so close coming into these final games of who can just hold on to it and who can handle the pressure here. We've proven that Day, Miro, and Reverse can do it. They went into the last game in 1st place, and they held on to it last FNCS, so we'll see right now. But Jack, Acorn, and Slax are used to playing catch-up as well. We still saw in the feed that there was big fights breaking down over that RPG at the Hydro Dam. I've talked about it. That is also their win condition. If they can play aggressive, maybe say, hey, we're going into the last couple games in 3rd. Let's not play to hold this. Let's let's play to win and overtake. Let's play a bit more aggressive, and we're seeing a little bit of that here, Monster. We're seeing a few teams go down early, a few players, but ultimately, in this 12-game format, 10 games in with our second last game, everyone is still playing their hearts out here today.
Yeah, for sure. It's still a race here. It's still a marathon, guys. These 2-day formats are grueling. They're mentally taxing. It means so much to not only the pro players, but for the fans involved as well, because you get to root them on for rounds after rounds of Fortnite competition. And listen, we talked about what we've watched and witnessed in these final moments. It's not just, you know, clutch ups from here and there. No, we're looking at full-on 3v3s, full-on collision courses of the best teams in the world, especially in the region, going head-to-head. Like, we're looking at content and footage here that's going to last the test of time here.
We are seeing some of the biggest names in NA East from World Cup days going all the way back, clashing at the very end. We've seen a few attempts at solo clutches like Commandment last game coming in fourth, but as you saw, they didn't break into the top 3. It is so difficult right now to get those last few big placement points because you have those full trios that are up there on the leaderboard, consistently up, consistently playing healthy, and we have a few people playing upset though as well. Klicksburg and Bizzle have jumped up massively. There is so much history between all these teams before. They all have such big legacies, and that's what NA East is about, right? We have players who have been at the top for such a long time, trying to hold on with other players trying to jump up and take their positions. Slackjack, Acorn as well. They haven't really had their moment like we saw from Daymir and Averse to win a finals last season. They need to step up and do a little bit more, because I've been talking about how I think they are some of the most consistent players in the world, but people don't really focus on that consistent third and second. They look at the very top.
Yeah, you got to perform the task at hand, and the task is win, win, win. For Reverse 2K, Miro, Day here, that is what they need to do. And again, one shortcoming, one short game. They fell short just a single time, and now they are trailing behind by 20 points. And that just, again, when you are looking at how consistent these teams are, apples for apples, pound for pound here, it's close. It's close. There's no room for error. We're watching near perfect Fortnite out of 3 trios right now. And then the just, I don't know what to call it, just the Superman stride right from team number 4, which is Klicksburg and Bizzle. Here's a squad that definitely has popped up today as well. Illis, Creo, and Avery, the Victory Royale that they picked up earlier, put them in contention for my pick, which was Degen, Aegis, and Skittles, which they're also playing out of their minds, guys. These guys are all playing great, but for the last 2 rounds, in order for these other people to come back up, I'm really thinking that someone has to land on first place, second or third, or give them some kind of clash in the mid game here. Give them a run for their money.
Yeah, because they are playing out very stacked. In the last few games, you'll tend to see that players really need to put up big eliminations. And I was going to say, we've been talking about those consistent teams that have been staying together on the top, right? Been playing together for multiple seasons, having huge performances. But if you look at the top 7 right now, there are so many teams that have split and reformed that have a lot to prove against their old teammates. We have Creo obviously playing with Bucky and Kanata for the longest time. Creo's in 7th, Bucky and Kanata in 5th with their new forming of Macwood. I also talked earlier about how Booga split up with Avery right now. Booga's team in 4th place right now, Avery down in 7th. So there are a lot of players who have been playing together for a long time now on separate teams that are really clashing here, and you know they're going to be hitting the DMs and having conversations after this about who came out on top, because we now have a consistent game mode in Fortnite right now. We're going to have 3 more FNCSs this year of trios, so it is really about focusing on being the best trio you can be. There's no question of whether you're going to play with a duo next season. Are you going to be able to bring it back in solos? No, you need to continue being the best of the best at trios, as Commandment sends Edgy make a really wide rotate here. Remember, they're dropping out of Misty Meadows and they're dropping in over here more towards Dirty Docks, so very deliberate rotate from these guys to bring them onto a less congested side. But do they have their Storm Surge tags?
And so let's just think about this. How much pressure is going to be alleviated from a trio if they qualify into top 3, right? Yeah, of course we want the active champions. Of course that's what you're fighting for. But at the end of the day, you want to be coming back here to the big final stage to compete again. And the way you do that is secure that top 3. That'll punch your ticket. That'll lock in your number for that next FNCS as well. So there's so much more riding on the line outside of the cash, outside of the active champions, outside of the bragging rights of being the #1 team in the world. But it is still a matter of putting up for these last 2 rounds, and now we're watching our first place team right here get a bit contested. Sentence gonna get a beamed. Ooh, that's a shield crack as well. Uh-oh.
And they're going to tend to hit the rotate around this mountain here. You're pretty sure Centered Edge and Commandment, they wanted to go straight through that one. They wanted to white line it to the next zone, but unfortunately, some big shots laid down. They're going to have to go around the outside, and that's where the loot comes into it as well. Coming out of Misty Meadows, do they have the chug splashes? So important when you have to heal up the entire team as well. And you talked about the money there as well, Monster. I don't think we've highlighted that enough here right now. The first place team is going to walk away with $50,000 each. Each player is going to get $50,000. Second place, $35,000. So that extra one place on the leaderboard gets you $15,000 each. We have the lion's share of over $500,000 going up for Lion here today. And then we have obviously EU this morning giving away over $1 million, Monster. Like, this is truly life-changing amounts of money.
Yeah, and once we jump into that last game, we'll be calling it. You're going to watch tens of thousands of dollar box fights on the line when these guys start going head-to-head. And, you know, there's no other way. Like, how is that not exciting? You put everything else aside. You just look at the cash that's on the line here. That in alone is enough to bring jitters and excitement to the pros. Bring nerves, right? And it doesn't matter how good you are. Everyone's going to be nervous in that last game.
It's life-changing as well, but one of the things I love as well on social media, you saw Hen, Janice, and Chapix flexing the champion's pickaxe, right? They're walking away with hundreds of thousands of dollars, and everything I saw them posting was about pickaxes and the clout and the pride they have in themselves as players. Because again, these guys have been putting in so much time and effort. As we talk about the money, but I guarantee a lot of them are just doing it for the love of the game, and they want to perform, and they want to gain that respect from their peers. Miro Day and Reverse have done it once, but like I talked about, specifically for a player like Reverse 2K, who I think for having won an FNCS still doesn't get the respect they deserve. They really have something to prove, as Centered Commandment Edgy in first place have everything to prove, everything to hold on to right now, and they've built up such a reputation. The Low Ground Kings. They came second last FNCS, coming over from NA West where they performed so well, people doubting whether they could do it on East. They've proven they can come second, but can they prove that they can win on this region?
Yeah, that's all they're literally missing here. And I mean, listen, it doesn't matter what the results are coming out of this. What they have done today will be cemented in the highlights for a long time. Like I said, these are some of the most explosive games we have watched, some of the best performances from the low ground. And again, there's just so much to learn from that these other teams, honestly, you just look at the skill that they're bringing to the table. I mean, they could teach a thing or two to so many other trios out here as Bugha's connected shot after shot. Okay, keeping that surge nice and comfortable there for themselves.
They needed that surge as well, because even with those two big tags from the legendary heavy assault rifle, they're still not that healthy. They're only 90 above here, and they've lost Bizzle, so this is down now to Bugha and Clix. We saw them on the high ground win that game as a duo earlier today, so we're going to have to see if they can somehow do it again, because this is not looking fantastic for a team that's now in fourth place and seeing themselves just rising up the leaderboard. The snipes come out, and they just don't connect here, but this is a team that's already done phenomenal things, especially Bugha. World Cup solo champion, came top 3 last FNCS, but Clix, NRG Clix, one of the biggest names, if not the biggest names in the scene, needs to prove that he's still got it here today. Played insane. First place in their qualifying week, first place in the heats, but when it comes to finals, Clix is notorious for just falling a little bit short, but right now, they are bringing it back in a big way, but as a duo, it's going to be hard to hold on to.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard to hold on to. So let's go ahead and check this out here. Clix sitting in the bush now, trying to just slide his way on up, make this rotate through, and man, we've seen them have such a huge stride on the comeback, but you brought it to my attention that Bizzle is definitely down and out of this trio, so, you know, I want to know the story there. What is happening? Have we seen the crazy run come to its end? Are they fizzling out here? Or will they figure this out and make it happen as a two-man team? I mean, they secured the win in the last game just like that, too, so, you know, anything can happen here.
Is possible, and they're in the zone right now. I'm just worried about their surge, but we dipped below it. I think this is the first time this weekend, or at least today, because again, even in these 12-game formats, at the end of the day, we talked about it earlier with Jack Acorn Slacks, right? Playing 3 tournaments back-to-back, having the mental fortitude to withstand that. Even 6 games on the biggest stage, it becomes taxing, and I think this is the first time we haven't seen an active Storm Surge on the 70-player zone. So right now, it looks like players are going down a little bit earlier. We've already had 8 teams exit the field here today, so it's a decent spot to be a duo. There's more center zone. There was no active surge on 70, but I have to wonder if it's going to be there for 50, because as a duo, finding your tags is so much harder. But you do have the potential of Clix and Bugha. They have some of the best accuracy in the game, as Jack, Acorn, Slacks, a team that's so high up on the leaderboard right now, doing such big things that have gone a little bit quiet, not because of poor performances, but today so far, they have managed to get a 4th, a 10th, a 3rd, and a 3rd. So they're just getting inside that top 3, getting that big 6 points, but then it's stopping there. And I think the biggest issue today we've seen from the last few games, Monster, is the eliminations. Only 4 in the second last game we've seen, and then 3 in the last game. That's not a lot for the teams in the top 3. They're really putting up big eliminations.
Yeah, I'm looking at the elim numbers, and you know what? Coming into this, our second place of Day, Miro, and Versus.UK, they had more average elims before, so they are definitely trailing behind. You can tell that things are becoming tougher and tougher as teams are starting to really hunker down here. And, you know, the elims are swinging in different ways, right? They're going to teams like Clix, Bugha, and Bizzle who are popping off. And when you have other teams, you know, these anomalies popping up out of nowhere, because that's what it is, right? Just these strides out of nowhere. The points are being divvied out in all kinds of different directions. And let's think about this. Clix, Bugha, and Bizzle, they have 3 victory royales, and they're only in 4th place. So we're just talking about a ridiculous comeback story for this trio here. And, you know, the show is putting on for them. The spotlight is definitely here.
Yeah, we've seen very few teams across the regions be able to put up those 3 victory hours as well. Last night, we did see, obviously, you and me commentated the OC Finals Day 2. We saw Sync, Soref, and Volks put up 3 victory hours and come in 2nd place to a team that only had 1 victory hour, Luda, Muzz, and Speedy. So at the same time, those victory hours are huge, but this format rewards consistency. Clix, Bugha, Bizzle didn't have the good start yesterday at day 1 they needed, and they're trying to come back now, but it might not be enough, as we see Kanata, Macwood, and Bucky set up on top of Day, Miro, and Reverse. That's 5th place on 2nd place. All these big teams are still in it right now. All the big teams are up. Last game we talked about it. What was that stat, Monster? 14 of the teams in the 17 that were remaining were on top 17 on the leaderboard. Like, the best of the best are making it to these end games and trying to change things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Those teams right there. And again, if they're up at those standings, that means every fight up there was worth in its own hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And now we're watching Clix and Bugha being a man down. You can see how it really chips into the surge, but they're making up for lost time here. They're making up for the man down by taking these fights, and this is actually going to cause a lobby focus in. And Clix finds a refresher here. If he can get the finish, he tries to grab the quick snipe shot. He doesn't, but he's going to take the body and throw him back. And no, now they're getting collapsed on by another trio. They're going to have to back off here, possibly give up the loot that they fought for, but it'll be worth it if they live to see another day.
At the same time, they're in a decent part of zone. If they get zone over here, that is a huge pickup from Clix. When the pressure was on, he steps up and he does what Clix does best. He outbox fights them, he outmaneuvers them, and gets the elimination. That's 2 points, but that is much needed surge. The biggest issue trying to duo clutch as a trio is the surge. If they pull off a good rotate or get the zone here, they don't need the materials as much as they needed that storm surge, because you're 1 man down, 1 less pair of eyes, and 1 less rifle to get that damage. As Censored Edge Commandment still up as a full trio right now. We get the beautiful panning shot of how this trio is doing it. They play so close together, but they're 354 below. How did this happen? Censored tried to pull out the Dragon Shock, and he wanted the big shot onto that team. They're below. That's Mars's team right now. This is it. First place is going down. Censored Edgy Commandment go down here. 20 teams alive. They are out before placement points, and it is Day, Miro, Reverse, Slacks, Jack, Acorn, Clix, and Bugha's chance to jump up and overtake them. Everything on the line. Can they hold on to their history right now, Monster? We know if they are in first place going into the last game, they have never lost a tournament, but are they going to be in first place? They're down early.
This might be a first. This might be the first we've ever seen, and now it's so realistic. The chances are starting to slip away for them. But you know what? We are setting ourselves up for a big finals now, with first place out here, with a 20-point gap, with some of the most consistent placements and just gameplay we've seen come out of that first place team of Commandment, Censored, and Edgy. They are now opening up the checkbook for everyone else. And the question is, how much are they willing to give away here? And again, it's still up to the other pros. It's still up to these other trios to make this last game count, to make this game 11 mean everything for them, because if they don't get points here, they lose their opportunity, and it will be gone forever.
Hey, I've put my name and reputation online. I've gone toe-to-toe with Vivid here. I've called it out. I have put everything on Sent and Edgy Commandment. I'm devastated to see them go down, but as a viewer, as a spectator, someone who loves the storylines, this is so intense. We now have a chance to see them dethroned from their first place going into the final game. If you're just tuning in, you don't know why me and Monster are so hyped. This is the second last game of NA East FNCS Finals this weekend. Our first place team is down. They got 0 placement points. There is 30 points for a victory hour worth of placement for Daymir and Reverse in second place, Slacksjack Acorn in third, and Clix and Booga in fourth. Any of those teams can realistically overtake them here if they get that victory hour. And Booga's team right now is on back-to-back victory hours. This could make it the hat trick as Slacksjack and Acorn, our third place team, set up for high ground. If they can take and hold this, this could be everything we need to see them in first place.
But they get pushed down, they get pushed back, and now they do get that first full moving zone, so they will be able to play into it. And it's already rotating, it's already cutting across. They're going to have to stop here. Hunker down and really figure out what it is that they want to do next. This next play is so important. They can't throw this opportunity to take first. They're going to go in and rotate across on high ground. It's a completely new trio, one that we have not seen up top, and they're looking to go ahead and pull something through. It's a Zervo and Dusky down there leading the tarp. Who can overtake them? Who can snatch up height? Or will everyone else come on down and fight for the point that's available in the low ground? Here we are. Clix and Booga still in the game here, still in the fight.
Still pushing through, and they're trying to make massive efforts here. Booga is down here. It's all up to Clix. All eyes on Clix. He's used to it. He's one of the biggest names in the scene, and all the pressure is on him to see what he can do. 2 Slurpfish, has the minis, has a decent loadout here. Only 36 builds, though. Zone goes back. Gets a bit of breathing room to try and get more of these placement points. That team on high ground, Azervo's team, is in 20th place right now. They are trying to have their big surge up on the leaderboard, and they are taking points from the teams at the top, though. Jack, Acorn, and Slacks are lurking. They're hanging just below. This is deliberate positioning. If you see a team here, it means they're looking to go for high ground. He's looking up for it. They only have 14 builds on Acorn, though. I don't know if they're going to be able to take it with what they have. If they didn't want this high ground, they would be dropping lower, and that's maybe the call as Acorn hits the bounce to the front side. Mars picks up Shark. Bucky's still in this as well. Aegis goes down, so our teams in the top 10 are here, but it's all about second and third. What is Reverse 2K Daymiro doing now to try and jump up and hold on to their back-to-back FNCS championship?
Here's another team, though. We see Acorn, Slacks, and Jack down low. We saw a little glimpse of Bucky still in this game. Kanata and Macwood there to back him up. Slacks is going to go in and find Crumble now as well, so that is big for them. These points, they're chipping away. They're closing the gap. Remember, it was only 20 points, and now with the placement points really starting to be diced out here, this is the comeback story from the trios that we want to see. Clix still alive here. Top 10, what are you going to do to go out and put up some numbers? He's only got a blue tactical shotgun. This is going to be tough for him.
If anyone can do this, it is the big Clix right now. He's working his way through the tops. They're all metal, so he is blind right now. He can't see where he's going. He doesn't know what's ahead of him. He just keeps finding metal after metal, but he finds a safe spot, the blue tactical shotgun. It would be miraculous to get a victory out of this 3 in a row, but what can he do? Every single team that goes down is one more point he so sorely needs for his team in fourth. I can only imagine the amount of eyes that Clix has on him right now as he tries to close this one out. DJN goes down the feed. Bucky's on the low ground. Kanata's on the low ground. We're going to harpoon the mats off Macwood. I don't know if we have any full health trios still in this right now, as Clix is still going. He has just gotten 2 extra placement points since we last watched him, but surely he can only hide for so long. He's going to have to find a team soon. The zone goes out. He's got no builds, and his movement right now is perfect, Monster. He is just hiding from everyone.
Jack is going to fall there too to Frist, and Frist is up top now. He's going to make the edit onto Clix. What is Clix going to do? He's on a run right now. He's been spotted out. Great shot, though. Fires back, walks into the zone. He needs the siphon. One more tick, and it's not going to be enough. Down goes Riversound. Down goes Clix. But now we come to the low ground here of Bucky and Kanata still in the fight here. Remember, they were in the top 5 as well. They can overcome, overtake, make the last game interesting, and they're still doing it. They're going to find one. Can they find 2? It's looking like it. And Bucky is on fire before he gets taken out. The follow-up from Kanata was good, though. And now 3 teams remain here.
Acorn goes down. Is Slax and Jack still in this right now? No, they are not. We have Dom and Dusky on the high ground. We have Kanata on the low ground. This team right now, Bucky, Kanata, Macwood are in 5th place. They're squaring off with 20th place right now. So we know who this means more for. Dom has the heal off. Unless he's messed up this med kit, you have to imagine that he is going to win this game. It doesn't even come down to the splashes. Dusky goes down and takes measures into his own hands. Takes out Kanata. But Monster, I didn't see Daymiro in reverse in that one. I only saw Slax, Jack, and Acorn, and we had eyes on Clix. Were they able to jump up with Censored, Edgy, and Commandment in 1st place, going down before any placement?
That's just it, exactly. Reverse 2K, Miro and Day were not there. Slax, Acorn, and Jack will rise up. Clix will definitely rise up a 7th place finish. But Macwood, Bucky, and Kanata, them two. We know what top 3s can bring to the table here. They just did that.
That's 25 points right now. I don't know how many eliminations they had. It could be enough to skyrocket them up.
Yeah, for sure. But all right, we're setting up the stage here. We got this last game in front of us coming here shortly. Before we get there, though, boys at the desk, tell me what you got, guys. This is crazy.
Absolutely. It is insane here coming into this final game of NA East. I gotta give props to Dusky's trio for finding the victory out. I'm so happy to see them. They had the heals. They had it all lined up. They had the insurance on the high ground. But, Reese, we're getting ready to head into this last game, okay? And we'll take a look at the standings in just a second, okay? First, you guys have set this up for us. You guys have a few things that you want to talk about before we jump into this last game. So I'm going to kick it over to you. Walk us through it.
Okay, we're going into the final game of NA East. Right now, the top 3 still have all to play for when it comes to that 1st place slot before we check the leaderboards. However, honestly, I think after watching that last game, it's no longer 3 people at the top. But before this game started, in 3rd place we had Acorn, Slax, and Jack. And these guys were absolutely popping off, right? They've been so consistent all game. The last 2 games they played, not including the last one, was 2 3rd places. So they're consistently getting into that top 3 where the big placement is. And really, you know, their average elimination's 5.9. So performing very, very well as a team overall. And like, this is what we know. You know, these guys were huge in their heat, having a 279 points total, which was incredible, right? The most on any heat on any region. And we thought, are they going to be able to continue that? So far, their performance definitely has shown that they have the potential to take that 1st place slot.
Yeah, and then we have another clip here from Miro, Day, and Reverse. Again, look how these guys are in sync. They are just immediately going for the same exact opponent at the same exact times, just timing their shots really, really well together. Look, again here, you know, they're together, they're backing each other up. They're just always cohesive in how they play this game, and that's why they're in contention right now to take away this FNCS championship.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen them over and over. Today, they've not been showing up as much, though. So I'm thinking the leaderboards will definitely have changed around a little bit. We'll have to wait to see how they come up. But you know what? Like last game, they can definitely pull it off. We've seen they've been able to get, and they might be able to have that 2-time FNCS championship, in particular in a row. You know, right now, we've seen Scented, Edgy, Command. We have talked about these guys a lot today, and for good reason. They have been explosive, in particular using that Dragon's Breath shotgun from Scented. You know, the amount of top 3s they've gotten have been absolutely incredible, but you know, their eliminations and their ability to find these spaces in the zone is amazing. In game 10, we remember seeing them having that incredible clutch where they had almost nothing remaining, but in that last game there, they actually ended up going down and getting 0 points, I think. Let me check. Yes, 0 points indeed over that team. So this is an opportunity for another team to catch up to them and take over that 1st place slot.
Yeah, Reese, I was mentioning they needed to have a bad game for this leaderboard to be competitive. And with that bad game, this leaderboard is going to be very, very interesting to look at because we know that we saw Slax, Acorn, and Jep up in there. We know we saw Bucky, Kanata, and Macwood. I really can't wait to see the leaderboard.
Well, Vivid, we're about to see, and guess what? These standings are different now.
Ooh.
They finally drop out of that 1st place spot. But now, as you just talked about, Slax, Acorn, and Jock, they've jumped up there, okay? They're now holding it down. It's only a 5-point difference, but still, you look at 3rd, Day, Miro, Reverse. They are currently holding the axe of champions. They're the champions coming out of last FNCS, and with a late game surge, they can still pull it off, Reese.
Wow. I mean, they can still pull off, absolutely. You know, this lead between Slax and Commandment, definitely still close, but Slax has been, and their team have been so consistent so far. The last 3 games, 3rd, and 4th. So, you know, in order for Daymere and Reverse, they're probably, to get that first place slot, you know, they're probably going to need a top 3. And at the same time, they're going to need one of the most consistent teams, actually the most consistent team in their placement, to have a bad game. You know, their average placement is 7.09 so far, which is absolutely nuts. So, in order for Daymere and Reverse to get into that first place slot, they have to pick up pretty much a victory royale, and at the same time, make sure the 2 most consistent teams in the lobby don't perform. This is going to be a good game.
And I would say that it is pretty much solidified right now that anybody in that top 5 will be one of our FNCS champions. I think anybody out of the top 5 right now most likely will not be able to take this home. So we're going to be looking at a battle between Slax, Acorn, and Jack, Commandment, Sen, and Edgy. They are the closest at the top. But if they both have bad games, then these 3rd, 4th, and 5th place trios, which are Reverse's trio, Bucky's trio, and Clix's trio, if they have a pop-off game when those 2 trios have a bad game, then they are for sure in the running for taking home the championship.
Yeah, and just to be clear, while you're watching this next game, keep an eye on the elimination feed at the top left. Right now, Slax, Acorn, and Jack, 5 points. Only 5 points ahead of Commandment, Scented, and Edgy. That's 3 eliminations right now to take them over and above. So if Commandment, Scented, and Edgy get 3 eliminations, say they get a wipe off spawn, they're actually going to be ahead of Slax, Acorn, and Jack, and it's going to be everything to play for it in your top 2. Then add everything we just talked about Daymere and Reverse coming back for the back-to-back championships on top of that. We have an exciting final game right here.
It is time. We're jumping out of the battle bus one last time in NA East. So casters, take it away.
Very much for hitting the nail on the head. You couldn't have said it better. And this is it, the final game of the FNCS finals here today for the NA East region is about to be underway. And what an explosive day it has been. We now have our top 5 teams who are in the race for the championship title here today. This Axe of Champions is right in front of all their grasp. Can they grab it though, Ozzy?
Can they grab it? And right now, this first zone sees that our 1st and 2nd place teams, 2nd place being Commandment, Scented, Edgy at Misty Meadows, and our 1st place team, Slax, Jack, and Acorn, Slurpy Swarms inside the first zone. So this is favorable to both of them. Neither one getting an advantage right now. Reset it up perfectly, Monster. You did too. There is 3 eliminations difference right now. That is it between 1st and 2nd. So every slight advantage is going to matter. They said keep your eyes on the feed. Don't worry. Me and Monster are very much going to be doing that because this is about to be one of the most exciting games of Fortnite you have ever watched. Everything comes down to this. Right now, we have Commandment, Scented, Edgy, who came 2nd last FNCS finals in 2nd. They don't want to do that again. They want the victory royale. And we have Jack, Acorn, and Slax, who have never been close to this one. They came 5th last finals. They've done everything leading up to this. They need the win to put it on their resume.
Yeah, let's just not forget, of course, what is on the line. Outside of that, Kanata's going to find one there. Hold up, though. Mars gets knocked. That's a contested drop. Does that mean Mars is going back to the old trusty Craggy Cliffs? That's what he does when everything's on the line. He goes back to what he knows best, and that's his drop spot. Kanata's going to go ahead and finish that one up there, too. So there's already interesting things unfolding here in the last game.
I mean, when there was only 3 points of difference between Bucky's team in 4th and Clix's team in 5th, each elimination is massive, and we're setting the stage for who's going to walk out with that Axe of Champions in 1st place. But you and me, Monster, we've been talking about how huge it is to place top 3 as a team, to get guaranteed invitation to the next FNCS finals right now. Daymere and Reverse are up there. They're in 3rd right now. They're a few points down from 2nd, but everyone is close behind them. Bucky, Kanata, Macwood, only 9 points behind them in 4th, and then Clix, Booga, Bizzle right now on 241, only 12 points behind them, and they're coming off the back of 2 victory royales in 3 of their last games. So everyone is playing for this one right now.
Yeah, for sure. And let's not forget, Clix was also down Bizzle in the last round there. It was just Booga and Clix working their way through that last game, just trying to figure it out, trying to stay alive, and they did just that. Just phenomenal movements from all the trios involved. I still can't believe, though, I still cannot believe Scented, Commandment, and Edgy gave up the lead. They gave up that 1st place spot by falling early, and we see what happens when you do. It doesn't matter how far ahead you are. With the exceptional amount of gameplay coming out of every other trio here, there's no room for error. The one mistake, though, has now made this such a close tournament that in this last game, who knows? Who knows
I mean, I don't even know at this point as well. Like I said, I picked Commandment Center Edgy as my trio to win it this weekend. I've put all my faith in them, my pride on the line, and that was one of their poorer games. That's one of 3 games of the 11 we've seen this weekend where they've gone down before placement. That's it. 8 of their other games, they've stayed up, and when they do stay up, they make that top 3 so consistently. So all they've got to do is that, and we saw that stat fly in last game, right, Monster? When Center and Edgy have gone into the final game of the tournament in the lead, they have never lost before. But they lost their lead at the very last second, the second last game. So right now, we'll see it. We have storylines developing. They're heading out of Misty, fully stacked like they used to be. Slackjack, Acorn got uncontested Slurpee. They are still looking fantastic. And I got to imagine, Monster, do you think there's any chance Slackjack and Acorn go for the big game? Do they look over at Hydro Dam to try and get that RPG? Or do they just play the Fortnite that's got them to this point?
I don't know. We've already saw them lose to Zaitsaf in stretch before. It would just be such a risk to go ahead and take that challenge again. That is the only thing I can think of. If they were to take that risk, really, you have to weigh your options. Is it that much worth it? When you see how good they're playing without it, I'd say no, absolutely not.
I think that's fair to say as well. Everyone's played phenomenal Fortnite here. We've talked about how this format really has led not just the best of the best players here today, this weekend in the 12-game format, but how the format rewarding top 3 so heavily with eliminations worth 2. If you can really tee it together with the eliminations across 12 games, you walk away with crowning the champions as the most consistent and unarguably the best players on NA East. And that's what we're going to do here today, as 2 of them are set right now in the lead to take it. But as Vivid talked about in the pre-show, we have seen these teams go down early before outside of placement. But I want to point something out right now, Monster, coming into this final game. Slacks, Jack, and Acorn have only had 1 game of the last 11 where they have gone down without placements. Only 1 where Commandment Center and Edgy have had 3. So right now, consistency actually does favor Slacks, Jack, and Acorn. It would have to be 1 of 2 of the games that they throw to go down before 17 teams.
Yeah, and let's just bring in, might as well rope in Day and Miro in reverse to this as well, because they, in the last 2, or the last 3, they fall in twice outside of the big placement there too, with no eliminations, and that's why they're hard stuck at 253. So you have to think, as we're focusing on this team, they've given away those 2, you know, it shouldn't happen anymore. It really shouldn't happen anymore.
You have to think, last 12 games that we saw of Trio FNCS Finals, that team was the most consistent on the day. They won by a solid 20-plus points over Centered Edgy Commandment. They've had the consistency in the past. They were set up to be not only the first players in NA East to have 2 times FNCS titles under their belt, they were going to do it back to back. And that's what that team has been triumphing back to back. But unfortunately for them, it's looking like Commandment, Centered Edgy, Slacks, Jack, and Acorn have set the pace. But here they are. They're setting up. If they can get an early trio wipe, if they can play aggressive, and look at this, they aren't playing scared. They're not trying to hold on to 3rd right now, Monster. This is the movement of a team that is trying to take 1st with a 105 snipe to open this up. And if they push this fight, this is everything you need to know. This team is definitely not playing for 3rd.
Yeah, they have to be careful, though, because Creo, Illis, and Avery is up at Caddy's corner right behind them, listening to all this chaos go down as the team that rotated out was Nut, Twexy, and Zypha. Day jumps in. Day looks for the tag. He's going to find it. It's Nut. Nut gets knocked right there. And now, yes, they do manage to finish that off. So this is perfect for the Surge. It's perfect for the points they need to catch up, because they were 30 points behind. They have a substantial gap to close here. It's a victory Yao's worth. So they have to outperform, outpace everyone else. And remember, their top 3 at the very least is still riding on their performance right now.
Yeah, they can't go down early here. They need to secure at least that top 3, because we know how prestigious that is. The guaranteed invite to the next finals for a team who's already won the previous. They're playing so consistent, and it's so fantastic. I talked about it earlier, Monster. Our top 3 teams are all teams that played together for the last FNCS finals, and all of them placed top 5. Slacks, Jack, and Acorn came in 5th place in the last finals, and now they're set to do it in 1st. Just seeing teams prove that consistency, chemistry, finding teammates that you can improve with and play together with is what ultimately leads to success. We're going to potentially see a podium finish today of teams that we've seen in this situation before. That means a lot going forward into a year where we have 3 more FNCSs still to come.
Yeah, for sure. And there's well over $500,000 on the line here. So if everything else wasn't enough, if the pressure of just, proving that you're the best and maintaining your lead and staying performance in shape wasn't enough, it's the extra cash that's there too. It's all riding on the line here. These fights that they're taking, they're nerve-wrenching. They are nerve-wracking for them too. You have to be careful. You have to play perfect Fortnite right now. And you cannot afford to miss a shot here. You just can't.
You just can't. And even though this is the 12th game of the weekend, we still have 27 teams, 79 players. We're teeing up for what I imagine will be probably just less than what you need for active Storm Surge. We need 70 players alive by the time the next zone closes. But at the same time, I have to think players are still in this one. They're still showing up big. It's for practice. It's for pride. And Reverse gets another elimination onto Crunchy here. So they are closing that gap. We're kind of telling this story as a two-horse race at the top right now. But third place, Daymiro and Reverse, your FNCS champs. They're closing the gap with every elimination being worth 2 here, as Slacksjack and Acorn are getting tagged up a little bit on this rotate as they're pushing onto Chimp, Tabney, and potentially Teo. There he is trailing from behind.
They have to be careful. Chimp, Tabney, and Teo have been on fire the last couple rounds, making it into endgame after endgame, fighting with the best of the best. So for Acorn, Slacks, and Jack right now, they may just find a team that's hot on the streak right here in top 10. It's an 8th place team. It may not be a team that's in the race for top 3 or first place, but it's a squad that still has thousands on the line here. And their reputation as well as one of the dark horse teams to really perform well this weekend, and they're doing it.
Yeah, 8th place team. This isn't an easy team to walk through right now. Jack, Slacks, and Acorn, we talked about how they've built up kind of like a legend of going for these mid-game fights, taking down full trios. We've seen that in the past, but we haven't seen it that much this weekend, Monster. That title really has gone over to teams like Daymiro and Reverse, where we talked about how coming into today, Miro alone had more eliminations than 30 teams in this field as Acorn sets up, gets the big shots. This is huge right now. When there was only a few eliminations separating first from second, if they get a full trio wipe here, or if they get taken out themselves, this is going to shift up the leaderboard so fast. Jack, Slacks, and Acorn are not playing scared. You would not think this was a team in first place right now, because they are playing to push their lead forward, not just hold on to it.
Oh, and they do manage to get the knock, pick them up, and get the shakedown here. That'll be all the information that they can extract out of Teo right there. And it seems like Tabney and Chip back off, and they leave him there to be finished off and taken out. Big performance, big win right there for Slacks, Acorn, and Jack. And you know what? It's still worth a lot. Like I said, to that 8th place team, there's thousands of dollars on the line now. If you slip out of the top 10, if you rank your way up to the top 5, the incremental pricing increase is crazy. You really want to stay in the running right now if you've made it this far.
Centered Edgy Commandment. Look at the loadout, Monster, on Centered alone right now. This is what has made this player and made this team's reputation. They are the low ground kings for a reason. Coming out of Misty Meadows, that drop spot fits their playstyle perfectly because they get that almost guaranteed Dragon Shotgun. I've talked about it. Condor, the NPC at Misty Meadows, one of my favorite characters in the game because I also love that shotgun. Centered puts it to such good use on the low ground. I've talked about this before and people have always asked, how does Centered Edgy Commandment play low ground so well with the fire spreading from the Dragon Shotgun? Centered's aim is so good that if you didn't know, you hit every single pellet on that Dragon Shotgun, the fire doesn't spread because it's absorbed by the player. And that's how deadly accurate Centered is with his shots, that's why you don't see this team running around in the fire builds on low ground. That is why they are so insanely dominant, and they have that win condition right now on Centered.
It's the subtle things. It's the little things. And that's what separates, the normal player from an exceptional one. These guys are well above the average. They're a cut above the rest. Several, if you will. But hold up. Take a look at Commandment, who's holding up this big tower here. Where is his teammates? Where is the rest of the gang? Are they inside the stealthy stronghold? Yes, they are. So they have a wide spread going on here. They have to be careful. Reverse 2K, Miro, and Day are moving up the mountain. If they sniff out, it's only one player up there. I mean, they're known to jump on those kind of weaknesses and take advantage.
They've got to be really, really careful. That's a big spread. And what an endgame right now. Hunter's Haven, it doesn't kind of get that same fear as what a Misty Meadows Mountain endgame does. But look at all the valleys. Look at all the hills. You've got that giant waterfall. You've got everything in this endgame. Pretty much no matter which way this pulls, it's going to be difficult for this team, as you can just, even without the minimap, right, Monster, you'll be able to sense where the terrain is as all of these teams try to huddle up and get the prime position on these mountains to play into this endgame. No one wants to set up down in the valleys. Everyone wants to have their kind of, I don't know, their hair in the breeze up there, as Acorn, Jack, Slacks have a mountain. Clix, Bizzle, Booga have a mountain. We saw the Commandment Centered Edgy have several mountains right now. Everyone's setting up for this endgame.
All the big names are in position. They're where they need to be. Like we said, we saw Reverse 2K, Miro, and Day just on the opposite side behind that other little mound there, sitting up underneath. Commandment, there they are, inside a building, being able to replenish all of their builds, which gets them nice and comfortable. But that's the widespread. Commandment's way over here, Sense and Edgy, opposite side. They have to be careful. Even crossing back now to try to get back to Commandment is going to be a risky one. The longer they take, the more likely teams are to migrate on in. Luckily for them, there's not a lot of squads looking in here, not a lot of situated teams looking between this little crevice here, and they do get to get back, but look at the material it's costing them. That's a lot. That's a little setback for them.
And they get the tags out. Now, I noticed Center was actually juggling extra meds into their builds as well. He had spare big pots as well. Now they get the airdrop, so things looking fantastic for this team. 26 teams alive, 70 players. We are not going to get active surge, but we saw this last game. There was no 70 active surge, but it went down to the 50 as all the players that are still in this are focused up and they want to perform. Keep your eyes on that feed. You're looking for any of the top teams to go down. In case you've just tuned in, you don't know what's at stake. This is the last game, the 12th game of the NA East Trio Finals, and you have Slacks, Jack, and Acorn in first, Commandment Centered Edgy second, Daymir Reverse in third, and all of them are jockeying right now, trying to take that first place, as you have Bucky's team in fourth and Clix is in fifth. So those are all huge names. If any of them go down here, it will mean everything, as if one of these teams goes down before placement, that'll be it, and we'll see players run away with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And look at the pressure going on here. Zypha and Twexy go down. I think that Stretch on the other side to pick up the loot, though. They're going to go ahead and snatch all this up right here real quick. You can see they start to mark it out, try to see what they can find. It's not going to be much, but yeah, those elims actually fall into Zayt and Saf's hand, so they don't get it. They still only have one elim, but at least they get some tags for it, so it's not for nothing.
I'm pretty sure we saw Slacks, Jack, and Acorn get that one elim as well, right? So that 5 points should still be holding right now. That is the difference. 5 points. Eliminations are worth 2. That is one trio wipe from having... There it is. That is the difference right now from first and second. And these 6 players are some of the most consistent. And honestly, I want to put it down to the most hardworking players in the community as well. Centered and Jack especially do not get enough credit for how much time they put into this game, how much effort they put into it, and how much it means to them. I know they're playing for first, not for the Champions pickaxe, not for the prize money, but for the pride and the accolades. That's why they do what they do, and I can't wait to see who walks away with it. I have my pick on Centered Edgy Commandment. I'd love to be right for my own pride, but honestly, seeing either of these teams win it will be so exciting, but who is going to be able to do it? They're both heading into endgame. All top 5 teams are still alive, Monster.
Yeah, it's about the dignity, that gratification you get from taking it all. That is what these guys are fighting for. That is literally the difference maker. It's what the best compete for. It's the adrenaline that you get in these big stages here. Acorn, Slacks, and Jack, though, let's evaluate the situation. Loot looking pretty decent. That's solid. Above the surge threshold as well, very comfortably. That's going to last them a zone or two's worth. So I'm liking the position this team is in. I'm loving the load as we're circling through these 3 individual perspectives. There's chug splashes across the board, big pots, minis, and shieldfish alike. This is solid.
Slacks, Jack, and Acorn have a winning loadout. Commandment Centered Edgy also have a winning loadout right now. None of them have an excuse for how this endgame goes, but they are set up in very different situations. If Commandment Centered Edgy managed to get this zone on top of them, it would be massive, as we have Nosh, Jamper, Paper, and we have Booga, Clix, Bizzle in 4th place. Everyone's setting up for this. We have 10 seconds. The final game, Monster. Half zone. Which way is it going to go? Who is going to be blessed and who is going to be challenged? It doesn't mean it's all over just because you don't get the zone, but we know how important this is, and it does. It pulls across to Clix, Bizzle, and Booga. They're going up for the high ground. They're going to try and make it 4 Victory Royales out of 12. They're having the absolute Cinderella run here to bring everything back.
They want to fight. They want to fight for it, and they're not here to give it up. Harpoons are going to come out from Clix. Imagine if he pulled someone off there. That'd be crazy. He's not giving up his opportunity to do it, though. He's still attacking all enemies in the line of sight. Here goes the Storm Surge. It is out. It is active, and that means players are going to have to get fighting. Yes. Yes. Look at the players here as well.
They have to be careful. We saw Clix's team chop out Zate's team in a very similar situation, right? And I even saw Bizzle take to Twitter to gloat about it a little bit. You don't want to see Bizzle, Clix, and Booga fall there if you're a fan, because they've built up high and they're reinforced, but not quite enough for my liking for how high up they are. Jack, Slacks, and Acorn also got this zone right now. Saf is making his way across. Macwood is taking down Ages in the feed. Where is Centered Edgy Commandment? They had a complete opposite half-half. Have they made the rotate, and how are they going to get here? There they are. They're making their way through the builds, but once they come out here, once they hit the open air, it's all going to be down to them to pick the right paths. And what a good rotate from this team. They're splitting up a little bit, though. I hope Commandment Edgy are going to come back up centered. Looks like they're going to try and break their way through. They got to be careful here. There's a team in there. Centered takes some tags. This is your second place team just making it to half-half. First place team is already in. They all have the loadouts. 3 teams to go down before placement. No one is going down early.
Yeah, let's not forget Reverse 2K, Miro, and Dare also out there amongst the Wolves. There is so much threat here in the field. There is so much threat, and they're not just safe just yet. They're going to have to inch their way in just a little bit more. It's Avery on the other side of the wall. The Elders team that was to the left has already moved. They're gone. Here's Acorn, Slacks, and Jack trying to get another position up, trying to get a better angle coming into this new zone. There's so much congestion here because it went up and over the mountain. Now it's going to go down and out through the valley to the open field. This is a nightmare last game zone. This high ground hold from Clix, Booga, and Bizzle, it's not good enough. This terrain is too volatile. They're going to have to give it up.
This is the zone that will literally wake you up in a cold sweat. This is nightmare fuel. It is going to go across and over the waterfall. You need to stay up. You can't drop down. One misplaced step, one wrong move, one wrong bouncer, one opponent that wants to break you out, and you are going to fall all the way to the very bottom and potentially fall out of your place on the leaderboard. But if you can stay up, if you can make it across, if you can bridge your way against all these players, you will survive and you will potentially win it. Look at that drop right now as Acorn is going down. No, Acorn, Jack, and Slacks, very deliberate, phenomenal play from this team. Bouncing the front side, staying in line now. They want to be beneath everyone else's builds. They don't want to be the team on the top, and they don't want to rely on another team. They're building the tarps. They look phenomenal. Can Centered Edgy Commandment get down in such a good position as well, or are they going to fall early?
I like that they're keeping a low profile, staying away from the other opponents. It looks like they got a refresher as well. This is massive, and those are big pickups there. That's more loot for them to work with. That's more for them to go ahead and power their way through. They're one step closer to being your FNCS champions. This is such a race. All of the teams we need to be here are still here, and now that they're finding Elims, it's going to allow them to continue to maintain the lead.
Everyone is still in this right now. We saw EU come down to the steamy endgame with the top teams all going head-to-head. You and me, Monster, said it's going to be hard for NA East to top that or even match it, but that is exactly what they're doing. All of our teams are up still here. We have a nightmare zone. Zate, Saf, and Stretch, the kings of the high ground, are on height. Clix, Boozer, and Centered so low right now. Commandment and Edgy, they're on the back foot. They're 70 below. This is their last-ditch effort. Bottom right, keep your eyes on that. Everything is on them. Only 37 above. They need to hold on. They are clutching it very little right now, Monster, to try and hold in this one. Centered goes down. It's just up to Edgy and Commandment. Jack, Acorn, and Slacks are still up, and they came into this game with a 5-point lead. Edgy, Commandment, what can you do to hold on to this?
And day finds night. Miro's gonna find the last tag onto Centered there too. So that's a team that's finding tags. Remember, it is a 3-way race right here for first place. Look at it. There's Day's eliminations. Day gets knocked by Zate on high ground. This is back and forth right now for all the teams that matter. And it's so much pressure on Edgy's back. Edgy brings someone down into the box. Will he be able to find it? It's back and forth, and I think he does. It's onto Aviv. They're going into a box-to-box fight. Right across from them, Jack, Acorn, and Slacks. They can see what's going on, but they're not looking across. They're looking down, and the punishment comes back. This is so close here.
Edgy still picking up eliminations. We have our low ground king with
gosh.
no low ground to
No.
play. This is essentially a sky base. Edgy goes down. It's all down to Commandment, but he's still getting eliminations in the feed. He has won, but he is now a solo in second place versing a trio. He's stepping up. He's doing everything he can to hold on to this. Commandment has shown such skill here today. We've seen some of the best players I have ever seen in Fortnite, but Commandment needs that. Nothing short of pure brilliance will keep this team up here to take first place. You have Commandment as a solo going up against Jack, Acorn, and Slacks as an entire trio. He has no builds, trying to jump his way through this. He's dropping down. He's going to his home on the low ground, but in a zone like this, you don't want to be here. He's got nowhere to go. He jumps. That's it. Second place is down. Slacks, Jack, and Acorn in first place. They are still up. This is potentially their victory lap, Monster.
Yes, definitely now. And Acorn is trying to jump down. He gets taken out. It's up to Slacks here and Jack to pop up. Pull in as much as they can to solidify this home run. And let's see if they will be able to take it home on the low ground, though. Kanata, Macwood, and Bucky here still picking up points. The race for top 3 is on for them. And they've made it all the way to top 3 here today. So many eliminations. Who are we going to see make it back? Miro is still in this. That's a second place. Miro has so many eliminations. Wait a second. First place is not guaranteed for anyone. Not just yet.
It is not.
Will the FNCS champions do it? It's so close.
They took it down. Miro dropped down there. Miro actually managed to take out Slacks, Jack, and Acorn. Third took out first there for points. Kanata, Macwood, Bucky are down there. We have Zay's team on the high ground. Kanata goes up right now. He goes off the bouncer.
Gosh.
He has that legendary tack shotgun. Kanata takes down Saf right now. These are two of the biggest teams in the business. Kanata's team needs this. They're in fourth place. They're fighting for third. Bucky is trying to secure that invite straight into next FNCS finals. Zay, the king of the high ground. Can he do it? It's going to come down to literally one tick. 10 health. Zay falls. Bucky just manages to win it with 10 health right now. Monster, that was everything you want from a game of Fortnite.
They just went toe-to-toe, gun for gun, shot for shot, blow for blow, and Bucky's team takes it. Kanata, oh my gosh, what a game.
But we also still had second place. Commandment Centered Edgy
Miro was
going into
there.
that. Centered went down early. Commandment Edgy held on. Commandment had to make the desperate jump off high ground. He had no builds. Slacks, Jack, and Acorn went down. They secured the placement points though. But was it enough? They went in on only a 5-point difference. Everything just shook up.
The fact Miro was there too. Miro had upwards of 10 eliminations as a trio there. They got third place. We know the significance of getting those placement points. They surely had more elims than Commandment. I don't know who's going to take this off.
Okay, I don't know who's going to take it. Either way, we have to throw it to the desk. That is going to be it from me and Monster Deface. Aussie Antics, thank you so much. We appreciate us having us analysts break it down because this is going to be so close. I don't know.
Okay, first off, before we say anything, all right, thank you, Monster Deface. Thank you, Aussie Antics. If you guys are not following those two and these two, please take a second because they poured their heart and soul into today, and we could not have asked for anything else. Okay, I can't believe that it came down to a 4-point difference. But your trio's champions out of NA East, who held on to the title. That's right, it's Slacks, it's Acorn, it's Jock. We are talking 4-point difference, boys. Commandment, Centered, and Edgy. They almost pulled out all the stops and overtook. But Slacks, his trio, they managed to hold on.
Wow. I mean, that last game that we've just watched had absolutely everything you could have completely asked for. The top 4 and 5 teams all alive in the top 6, plus Zay in there as well. And look at the difference. 4-point difference between Slacks, Acorn, and Jack, and Commandment, Sent, and Edgy. We saw Commandment, Sent, and Edgy in that last game struggle with the Storm Surge and eventually be taken down. And if they'd managed to get that little bit earlier, a little bit more surge, keep them going through the movement, keep them going a little bit further in that end game, man, we could have seen a complete changeover. And how can we not talk about Commandment's huge solo clutch that he made there, getting way more placement points after the other two had gone down? Like, every team here in the top, what an incredible performance today.
No doubt that Scented and Edgy were performing so, but I feel like there was just so many moments on the broadcast where we got to see Commandment alone in the end game, clutching up these points and he clutches up the second place for his trio. Like I said, Sentinel Edgy probably played so well, but we just saw so many highlights from Commandment that I would go ahead and contribute that clutch factor to him edging that second place out for his team. And yes, Aussie's prediction and Reese's prediction, you guys do surpass me by 3 points because Bucky and Kanata and Macwood secured the third place spot with just 3 points behind. But man, looking at that top 5, Slacks, Commandments trio, Bucky's trio, then Reverse's trio, and then Clix's trio, like that is, I don't think we could have asked for like a better top 5 right there. That is a solid top 5.
I mean, over top 4, there was only 12-point difference from first to fourth.
Yeah.
Incredible. And look, we've not talked about as much about Slacks, Acorn, and Jack yet, right? We've just hyped up Commandment, Sentinel Edgy, Bucky, Kanada, Macwood. These guys have obviously performed, but our first place slot, Slacks, Acorn, and Jack, I feel like visually watching them, you may not perceive them to be playing as well as they were because, they weren't popping off with massive elimination games coming into today as much, but listen to the placements. 4th, 10th, 3rd, 4th from their last 6 games today. Like, one absolutely incredible consistent placement. And as we all know, once you hit that top 3, that's when those big placement points kick in. So playing the format incredibly. So despite the fact that, they weren't getting as many eliminations as, Day's team, for example, we already saw them pick off massive amount of eliminations in day 1. They're just sheer incredible consistency coming out of Slacks, Acorn, and Jack. Blew it away. 4-point lead. Couldn't have been closer almost.
Listen, we talked about them every single weekend of those qualifiers, every single time in their heat, and we gave them so much respect. And I feel like in the finals, we were almost maybe a little tired about talking to me, like, we keep hyping these guys up and they're not winning. And, they flew under the radar. We're talking about all these other trios, and then they came out, they played these 12 games, they got the best average placement out of anybody. They ended with 6.83 average placement. The second best average placement was 9. So they averaged 2 places better. Like, they played out of their minds. Congratulations to them, because I really do think that they deserve it. They played absolutely incredible.
It is absolutely amazing. Thank you, Fortnite fam, so much. Once again, congratulations to our new Trios champions. You want more Fortnite action? We'll make sure to stick around, because don't forget, we got NA West. We got another Trios champions to crown. Fortnite fam, we love you. Follow these incredible humans. We'll see you guys next season. As always, we'll see you guys on the Battle Bus.
Beep, beep.
This is Agent Jones requesting access to restricted file 8752. This is Agent Jones requesting access to restricted file 8752. Oh, really? No time to stabilize reality, but plenty of time to revoke my credentials. This is Agent Jones requesting access to all materials related to the 7. Oh, great! Okay, if you're not going to give me what I need, I'm just going to have to take it.
fam, welcome back to the Fortnite Champion Series. It is time. We're here in NA West. We've got 6 games ahead of us, and then we will crown the next FNCS Trios Champions out of NA West. Now, if you've been following us all day, you know the action's been intense, and now we're going to keep that ball rolling. You know as well who we got on the analyst desk. It's your favorite casting analyst duo ever. That's what
wow.
Yeah.
Hey, you got hosting in there too, right? Kelly's dropped down on the desk too, but man, Zeke, you mentioned the action is intense. Absolutely, right? Across all the regions in that final game, somewhat of a 1 point to 5 point difference. NA West historically has had the closest major finals back to back to back. This one's going to be a big one.
All right, I thought Kelly was going to add to it. Kelly?
I think my internet might be a little too excited right now with what's going on, but I think I am back.
She did it. She's back. She never left. That's right. Don't call it a comeback. She never left. All right, you know what time it is. It's time to talk about the tournament format. Oh, by the way, Party Royale. What up, baby? You look nice today. I hope you had a great day. We've missed you. Make sure you show us love. Use your favorite emo. We like to see it. All right, Shy Wager, how do we make it to finals?
We made it to finals through a grueling process that the amount of skill each trio has here in NA West and across the world. We started with those qualifiers up to 4 rounds. After that, those semifinals, which had multiple heats over 2 days. They played it out. We had an amazing reboot round match where in NA West, Jeffers and his trio won out with a very clutch heel off against, I believe, Vert. And now we're in the finals, a 2-day process, 6 games already knocked down. Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan lead the charge there. And then past that, we have 6 more today. At the end of it, we'll crown an FNCS champion who'll have that Axe of Champions as well.
Well, of course, we have to have points to have a winner. As you guys can see right here, the point system has not changed. It is going to be 2 points per elimination. And then once you reach 17th place, you're going to get a point per placement. But you can see that goes all the way up until you reach 3rd place. That's where there's going to be a 6-point jump. And from there, it's 5 points. So if you make it to the end game, it's good to get 8th or 7th, but you really want to try and make it all the way to 3rd at least if you can.
That's right. And what does this all culminate to? What does this take us to? What is the end goal here? Yeah, there's prize money on the line. Yeah, there's notoriety. Yeah, there's recognition. I don't want any of that. I just want the Axe of Champions. I want to run around inside Fortnite with the coolest pickaxe on the block. That anytime anyone ever sees it, they say, my goodness, that person is going to send me back to lobby if I'm not careful. Got to get out of the way. And of course, we have an even in-depth breakdown of the prize pool for NA West. We'll have that in just a moment. But once again, your trio champions, they're walking away with a gold pickaxe. Beautiful. Mwah. No one can have it. The only way you can have this pickaxe, Shy Wager, is if you are an FNCS Trios champion.
Yep, and you can also get $75,000 for being the champion too. Ooh. Also, that extra rule added in for this FNCS, the top 3 make it out and qualify for the next finals for the FNCS, which is huge.
Huge indeed. I mean, that's going to be a big deal there. A lot of people are kind of focusing on the fight for 1st place, but you can see how much that money changes from 1st to 2nd to 3rd there. So it's not just a fight for 1st. These are all the teams scrambling to try and be as high as they possibly can, because it is going to be a $3,000 difference if you're just down a few eliminations from 4th place.
We saw it just a little bit ago, right? NA East, it came down to a 4-point difference. That's a placement. That's 2 elims. Every single micro interaction that these teams have makes a difference. And it will literally cost you the Axe of Champions, right? So it is all coming down to the wire here. Now, to quickly shift gears, we do have other regions kind of going on as well. And guess what? We have the results from Brazil. We can see which trio walked away the FNCS champion for Chapter 2, Season 5. And guess what? It's Kadu. It's 100UM. I don't know who that is. And King!
No, I absolutely do. These guys had a phenomenal overall cumulative session. 5 total victory royales out of the 12 games that they played. They walk away with $75,000, $25K each, and it was a close race for them all the way towards the very finish. Even though they were winning, you know, it wasn't a guaranteed slot in that last game either. They had to fight all the way till the very end.
Yeah, they came out of day one in second place right there, although it was still a 50-point difference from Perza's team. But today they showed up, getting those 3 victory royales, as Shayo said, and of course walking away in first place. Look at that. Look at the difference, actually. It is quite close between first and second place. But from there, it is over 100-point difference, Shayo.
Yeah, these two teams were playing in a completely different game. Persa, Ed, and Nix, these guys were just getting single placement games over and over. Elims in almost every game. That last game was the decider between both those teams. Past that, though, all the way towards 10th place. And 6th, we have one of the best trios on the region, King, Zone, and Rusty. They had a good performance throughout the day, just didn't have the best first day coming into the competition. Still, next FNCS is there. I would expect this trio to stay together. Now they have an easier ride with the top 3 teams not being there to contest them in those qualifier slots or the semifinals.
Yeah, I kind of expect a lot of these teams to stick together, not just because of the rules that have been set into place with the FNCS and allowing the top 3 teams to move forward, but also those special tournaments that's going to be happening with the teams that are just sticking together and proving what it means to have longevity in the scene.
Absolutely. Now, of course, my friends, we got to shift our attention back to NA West, because just ahead of us, we have 6 matches of action on the horizon. So in case you missed out on the action yesterday and you're just tuning in, don't worry, we got you covered. Let's take a look at the standings from the first 6 games from yesterday. Quinn, Juicy, Dylan, right now they're coming into these next 6 matches with 163 points. Arkram, Rex, Epic Whale right behind them, and Chicken Avail and Kytrix coming in 3rd. Now, how you guys feeling about these standings coming into today?
My heart beats rising over and over again whenever I look at this board, because it reminds me of how flip-floppy it was yesterday. Kytrix all the way up top holding it off, but then more teams climbing up over and over again.
Yeah, that's right. We don't even see Kytrex, or we do. They're in 3rd place right now. There we go. That makes way more sense. But Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan, an incredible performance from them. I think besides Game 5, they never placed below 8th, and they also made sure to grab 8 eliminations, 9 eliminations as well with the Victory Royale in our very final game. But some of the teams that we're seeing right now, 6th and 9th specifically, they kind of had a rough start at the day, and then in the last 3 games, they started to climb up. Reed's team specifically definitely had a rough first few games, getting 24th in their first game. But then in Game 5, they got that 2nd place, 5 elimination finish. So good to see them kind of climb up the leaderboard.
Absolutely, and there's some high-profile teams still waiting in the wakes. 11th and 12th place, Favs and Symmetrical, looking for their chance to just kind of bounce back. They had a rocky middle game session basically over and over. Some notable placements in these 6 games they played out first, but I think everyone's awake now. They understand what's going on. Even uncontested teams like Falconer, Kadenox, and Turtle Tavern seem like they had a free ride, but that mid-game and end game in NA West, Kelly, it is, I think, one of the hardest we're seeing across the regions.
I mean, Falconer, that team had 2 0-point games to start off, and that mentally going into the next game, it's got to be really difficult jumping back into that. They did see success in game number 4. They had really good height, but then they weren't able to actually take the win because Frappi was prepared for that heal off. And I think that's kind of the story that we're seeing with North American West, is that it's not always necessarily the team that has height on the 6th or 7th zone is like confidently going to be walking away with the win. We've seen teams steal height in zone 9. We've seen teams have the heal off. It's quite possible that a lot of these teams still have a lot of options under their belt.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I will agree with you, Shy Wager. But now, once again, shift gears. That's right. We're moving and grooving. We got to talk predictions. Now, Kelly, Sundown went with Arkram, Rex, and Epic Whale. This is a trio that you're extremely...
Oh, I mean, it's surprising that you chose me to defend his case when Shayo is here on the desk and he chose the team, but it's pretty obvious why you have to defend their case. It's the reigning champions, Arkram, Rex, Epic Whale, an incredible team right here. They kind of started off a little rough in game number 1, but then by game number 2, they bounced back and we had an exciting 3v3 against Reed's team and did end up going in their way with 6 eliminations. And then we saw in game number 5, that first place 14 elimination. It was incredible. That was actually the 3v3 that I was talking about. But my team, Symmetrical Dogs Inc., you know what, Shayo? Why don't you defend them?
Oh, you took it from me.
Dang
it!
Too, but...
I was going to pull a fast one.
Okay, so Symmetrical, Dog, and Zinc. This is actually really interesting. This is nice. So for these guys, they had such a dominant performance in their heat specifically. I don't think they triumphed all the way up top on it, but they just looked so good just in general overall on the day. Even if they did though, regardless of that, Kelly wanted to predict this trio that day, didn't get to do it. So this is kind of like, you know, her following her heart and at the same time following on the region, on the server. If there's anyone that can upset the top team, you have to take your pick. Symmetrical is a good option. They're used to these stacked games. They have a very methodical type play style, which doesn't really require high ground every single game. So I feel like this is a good pick from her. At the same time, you're up against Titans who win back to back to back. So they are a few pages behind right now, but I believe they can come back on day 2.
I feel like Symmetrical, the reason why I chose Symmetrical is the reason why Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan are doing so well right now. They aren't having these crazy blowout 14 elimination games, but they're playing smart every time that they make into the end game. And they do that every time. Like I said, they had one game yesterday, and I believe it was game 5, where they went out in 17th place. So even then, they still got at least 1 point. But they're making it to the end game every single time, Shayo. How are they able to do that? Is that because they're landing steamy stacks uncontested?
It's because they have a certain type of fuel, basically, that is that uncontested, but at the same time, like, I don't know, activeness in an early performance in a tournament, right? They're really good out the gate. When it comes to fixing mistakes, I feel like sometimes they repeat the same patterns. So for day 2, Kelly, is that an issue when you have to VOD review and try to find those mistakes, you know, for the second day?
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of these teams right here, especially a team like Quinn's team, who is in first place right now, has done a bunch of VOD reviewing, especially when you saw Arcrum slowly start to climb up the ranks. I'm sure a lot of these newer teams were feeling a bit more confident seeing that Arcrum's team was starting below, but now that he's in second place, they're probably feeling a little bit nervous, but I'm sure those nerves are going to be going away right now as we jump into game number 7 of our finals. So let's head on over to our casters. It's Cam and Clay.
Thank you so much, Kelly, Shayo, and Zeke, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Jonesies, Bonesies, he's, she's, theys, thems, and everyone in between. It is the finals, the last 6 matches here in NA West. We have already seen 6 other trios be crowned the FNCS champions, get that Axe of Champions, and we will now be calling the last 6 matches. My name's Sundown, joined by the fantastic, as always, Clay Stelling. And Clay, what are you keeping an eye on today, man?
You know, I got to keep my eye on Kelly's prediction of Symmetrical. She is coming in, and she is confident that they are going to do well. And while I'm confident in our prediction, I definitely think she's been right about a couple of these, so we got to keep our eyes on them. But overall, I'm just really excited to see if the action can step it up. Every region, it seems like we've broadcasted, has just ramped up in terms of intensity. And now we're in West. Anything can happen, and I want anything to happen.
I mean, across the board, if you look at almost every single region, it's nearly come down to the top 2 or top 3 teams battling it out in the final game. It happened down in OCE. It happened in Asia. It happened in Middle East. We saw it in EU. We saw it in NA. We got a little peek down in Brazil where it was quite literally down to that last match. I mean, hopefully we'll see the same amount of tension rising here in NA West. Now, as a viewer, if you are just tuning in for the first time, particularly if you're in Party Royale, first of all, welcome. You're probably wondering, well, Sundown, what do I care about today? Well, first of all, it's that number 1 spot. Whoever will walk away gets the top amount of prize money in the region. They get that Axe of Champions for the entirety of the next season until they are unseated next FNCS, as well as all the notoriety that ends up coming with it. On top of that, the teams advance all the way through to the finals for next FNCS. So we're going to want to keep a line kind of on that top 3 line, and then once you get into the top 10, each individual placement is a bump in pricing as well. So we want to keep an eye on who's able to kind of shift their way up the leaderboard between those monumentous individual efforts we've seen.
There's a lot of money on the line as well. It is no small feat to be able to make it here, and so a big amount on the line for these trios, especially that first place. And you talked about the auto qualification into next FNCS finals is so huge. You do not have to worry about playing through qualifiers or even the semifinals. You are automatically there in that finals. So insane ramifications. And we saw over in NA East, the last game had such huge ramifications, not only for first and second, but third place came down so close.
And it's always just the difference of a couple of eliminations here or there, particularly with eliminations being worth 2 points. Those top 3 being such big placement values. Anything can happen in the final 6 matches. Anything will happen. Enough from us. They're on the bus. They're hopping off, and so are we. Let's get into match number 1 here on day 2. Match 7 overall in Clay. I got goosebumps right now, man. The games have been just amazing. There's been so much fantastic Fortnite played, and we are just now getting into the final leg of it.
I got them as well. Excited to see what NA West does this time around to bring us the insane action. We know they can. My eyes right there, Sweaty Sands. That's our second place team, the middle of the map near the Butter Barn. That's our first place team, dropping right in the middle. Such great rotations there for them coming out of it. And actually, sorry, that's my third place team. My apologies, Kytrix and company. But they were our first place team for a while yesterday.
They were our first place team for a while, winning match number 1 and match number 2, though not necessarily racking up the most amount of eliminations. So they didn't always have the strongest of point leads, and then dropping early in a couple of games really then set them back, currently sitting in 3rd place with 145 points coming into the day. But we've talked about every little piece matters, so potentially with Victory Royales being that number 1 tiebreaker, they know they already have that in the back pocket right now with 2. So you see our number 1 team right now, TSG, Dylan, Extra Quinn, and Juicy over at Steamy Stacks, and nary another trio in sight.
One of the few times I feel like we've seen Steamy Stacks in this finals not be contested. We do see a good amount of eliminations come through. 6 total players being eliminated there. 2 full trios going down early. And I do like for Quinn, Dylan, and Juicy that Steamy Stacks is uncontested. But that does pose an issue of where they're going to get their Storm Surge tags. And we've seen them do so well at getting those into the mid and early games.
Can see, keep an eye on that top left. Temple taking down Ordep as well. They've really struggled to kind of find a drop spot, initially dropping down kind of in that southeast corner by Camp Cod, but switching up a number of times. However, always seeming to find contention, and yet another tough start for them here in match number 7. We're going to swing around to take a look at the so-called favorites of the region, currently sitting in 2nd place. 100 Thieves, Arkham, Energies, Epic Whale, and 100 Thieves Rex, a sandwich of fantastic players being able to put together results across basically every format, most recently winning their own tournament there, the Epic Whale Cup, where they said everybody else was playing for second, and it ended up being true, and currently that is their spot on the leaderboard.
We'll have to see if they can go for that gold, get that first place overall. Definitely have the ability to do it. We saw them yesterday, though, struggle with Storm Surge tags, and this is sort of the same situation we saw over in EU. There's a big name trio dropping at Sweaty Sands, having trouble getting Storm Surge outside the POI because they have scared everybody else off away from it.
And they haven't even necessarily scared everyone away from the POI. They've scared everyone away from even the scavenger routes near it. Players don't even dare go near the lake that's typically right there. It's a quick, easy 3-4 fishing spots. Sometimes there's a chest down there as well, but players generally won't even touch it, knowing that if one of them drops near it, all 3 will come riding over the hills to just be their savior, and then effectively you don't want to be in an early game fight against them. As we're getting a tour of our current top 3, we talked about them a bit on board here with Select, Avail, Kytrex, and Chicken down at the Butter Barn, making sure they utilize those slurp barrels very efficiently, stacked on top of each other, which is what you like to see. Allows them to use excess heals kind of in the late game, and part of the reason why they've had a little bit more success, as well as landing centrally on the map. It's such a huge boon for them.
It is, and also at the hands of Chicken's sniper elimination. Chicken has so many sniper tags, so much insane Storm Surge damage comes from him, and so the fact that they're able to count on that time and time again has set them up in such a great spot. It's also one of the few trios we actually saw go for a high ground retake very late in the game. I think 9th zone, were able to pull it off and then win the game because of it. So insane plays there as we do move over to Holly Hedges. We saw this site play out a lot yesterday. Mangles and company did get some of the fights in their favor, but this time it seems like they're playing a lot slower.
Yeah, and which is generally what we've seen from them before. They're usually a lot more cautious right after the drop, just trying to find a little bit of space, whatever materials are afforded to them. But I do like to see them rotating early in away from this, especially because the zone has pulled decently far south, so you can expect a lot of teams who are in that northwest corner, which there's a couple powerhouses up there, i.e. Epic Whale and his trio. You don't want to end up running into that situation. You can already see that trying to come down towards there, there's another trio in between them and the safe zone. So the decision to rotate early could pay off, but it could put them in kind of an awkward spot too.
Now with Mojo and Solution rotating right in front of them, if they're aware of the trio rotating from behind, a couple easy sniper shots back, and they could go down, as we do get to see another powerhouse trio of Macon and 40R. Did not have the best start to yesterday, but came back in the last couple of games. Ended up in 6th place. Reet holding very epic or legendary variants of every weapon, so everything looking good. And the fact that they have a legendary lever there really shows, I think they're all going to have that based on the NPC that spawns there. And that's so huge for them.
Yeah, being able to fight box to box with that, plus the rocket launcher, is going to allow for some devastating hits to come out. The question is, how are they going to fare in terms of that Storm Surge, making sure they've done damage to some of the other trios so they're not threatened by that. Because as you keep an eye on kind of that top left corner, currently 85 players still remaining, 29 of the 32 trios who are in the server still going to be up on their feet. So a lot going on. So we're going to swing around here. You can see Jagvir, Mojo, and Solution have picked up a nice little supply drop there, adding to the repertoire of utility. And I mean, you can see them splitting bouncers, making sure everyone's spread out. And I mean, they're even going to potentially leave some utility behind. They're loaded on loot.
They are, and that's what you want to see. 5th place coming in to today, or 4th place, my apologies there. In a great spot as well, moving towards center of the map. As we do get a nice quick stat. Mojo finished with 18 eliminations on day 1, which was the most of any player, and they came in 4th place. So imagine if they're able to convert a little bit more on the placement front. We'd definitely be looking at, I would say, maybe a 2nd place team.
Yeah, but to be honest, their placement thresholds haven't been bad. They've gotten a 3rd place, a 2nd place, and a 4th place in there. The only one that's really been a massive dud was that 30th place 0 elim match they had in match number 4. So while that being a bit tough, I feel like we haven't necessarily seen them as much as they've really been putting up numbers, because they've had some solid games in there. Their 2nd place was a 10 elim match. Their 3rd place was an 11 elim match, which means showing that not only are they able to kind of get into these late game situations, but they're capable of finding eliminations, which to me indicates that, and from what we have seen of them, they've been fighting right around kind of that 2nd height or middle tarp layer and being the aggressors in that situation and not necessarily afraid to trade out one individual if they're able to full wipe a trio.
And you saw the sniper elim come through there for Mojo. Again, we talk, NA West has so many sniper eliminations that come through. It's such a powerful weapon, as we do get to move over to, once again, another powerhouse trio of Wavy Jacob, Jay, and Favs. That's going to be Alex G on soccer. That's his name. Changing it up, spicing it up a little bit here for the last day of finals. But notice, once again, we have yet to see the Dragon's Best shotgun in Wavy Jacob's inventory, and that's his power weapon. He does so well with that, and I'm surprised that they're not trying to pick it up.
I think it's interesting because I'm a fan of it when you're able to execute well, but it also kind of pigeonholes you into a very specific strategy where either A, you have to own a ton of space on the low ground and then force people to drop into you, i.e. what we saw kind of over on NA East with Sentin and his team, the low ground execution and what makes that so beneficial, or you have to play box to box to be kind of trying to like phase or force in and hinge on that one shot, which is what we see a little bit more when they tend to run it. But if you're fighting in those strategies and you end up not in either of those situations, you're kind of stuck without an effective shotgun, because without being directly in front of people or being able to close that gap or have it be a fight that you dictate, you don't really have an option to get out a ton of damage, which leaves you to rifle spray and can potentially leave you super vulnerable.
And that may be something they've adapted coming out of semifinals. And making it here to the finals. They decided, you know what, we're not going to go for that. We're going to go for that tactical, that lever shotgun, the charge shotgun play. Just have that ability to swap back to it if I need to. A team that's kind of been making their way up the leaderboards, I'd say, towards the last couple of games, the Slim & Company, they had a good start to the game and then kind of finished off a little bit wavering, but they were dominating in terms of eliminations, doing so well, considering all things, because they like to push. They were contested in some areas, and now already with a couple elims under their belt, looking very, very good and early on their rotation as well, because we know the zone is pulled down here.
Yeah, it seems like they've just been beating up on one or two teams in particular off of this rotation, which is something I'm not necessarily too surprised of, because Little is really, really, really good when he knows he has an advantage in certain situations and he knows how to press it. But we've also seen Temple picking up a ton of their early eliminations, so the combination of the two has been impressive. We see that almost pre-built out Port-a-Fort in stone of old there. It's kind of almost been now a signature of Kytrex, a Chicken, and a Veil to build up there in order to get the sight lines they need for those Storm Surge tags. And you're going to see that start to come in there. And a quick stat on the left-hand side of your screen there. Quinn and Chicken's trios were the only teams to earn placement points in every game on day one. Just showing that level of consistency and making sure they're getting into kind of that top half of play and making it into the mid and moving zones.
Performance there from them, and kind of exactly what we saw. I think only one time Quinn went down in 17th place, which is the bare minimum for placement. So absolutely dominating on their rotations, where they're putting themselves and how they're setting themselves up for these in-game scenarios. Chicken, however, does not have a sniper rifle, and we know Chicken has such great aim and such great ability with that weapon. He's choosing to carry two big pots over it. Maybe didn't find one in his inventory. But will that affect their Storm Surges coming through? Only 72 above when we normally see them pretty high.
I mean, Avail's holding the sniper rifle right now, so despite the statistics saying that Chicken is slightly stronger with that weapon in his inventory, they're going to opt to give it over to Avail. So we're going to swing over and see teams trying to occupy as much space as possible here, as that Storm Surge is going to threaten on the right-hand side. You can see currently that Arkham, Epic Whale, and Rex are 179 damage above. It was something that caused them a little bit of trouble yesterday in the opening match there. It was the reason largely that they went down, but you also see them getting some key upgrades here off of their gold.
Yeah, what a great find there. Finding Condor in the middle. Farm all that brick they just used. And great for them to be above Surge. Now they can operate the way they want to, like we saw yesterday in the games that they were able to find the tags. And if they're able to operate that way on this entire lobby, it's GG well played. They are so good at playing their game and pushing their lead on other teams. As we start to see Storm Surge go down, we're not going to have to worry about it too much here for this trio. But the question is, where are these other players looking for tags? And Oracle and company